All right. All right. Shalom. Yahweh Bashem Yahushua Brakatah. To all the brothers, Yahweh Shemar Latham Bashem Yahushua. To all the sisters, priest and officer 5000 Kasar Pakah. This is the Thursday night scripture breakdown for ISUBK Northern California. We're going to be going into the story about the history of Susanna. We're going to give this sister some credit today. We're just going to run through the whole story from the top to bottom. It's a very short book in the Bible, but it's a sister that many people may not know that grew up in the Christian church because the Apocrypha was taken out of the King James Version Bible, the New King James, the EV, all these different types of versions of Bible that they have today. They excluded the Apocrypha right here, and that's your Hebrew starter kit when you come into the truth. You want to make sure you get you a King James Version Bible, get you an Apocrypha, and make sure you have a Zondervan Bible's dictionary. I guess the next step on to that would be get a Strong's Concordance. All right, those are the things that I was told coming into the truth. Your bread and butter are what you need to really understand the Bible, right? In our history and our context. But let's just go ahead and get into the story right now, all right? The history of Susanna. There dwelt a man in Babylon called Joachim, and he took a wife whose name was Susanna, the daughter of Chelcias, a very fair woman and one that feared the Lord. Right? So this sister right here, she was very fair, meaning she was very beautiful. She was a gorgeous woman. Doesn't mean that she was light-skinned. It doesn't mean anything like that. Fair, meaning she was beautiful. And as time went on, that's how our oppressors started to use that term to mean someone light or white. But it's just, in this context, talking about she was a beautiful sister, right? But the thing that was most glorious about her was that she feared the Lord. This is why she made this book in the Bible. Matter of fact, let's get that precept. Let's get that precept. Was that in Timothy? First Peter. First Peter 3. Real quick. This is what made her special in the eyes of the Lord. Like, there are a lot of beautiful women. There always have been beautiful women throughout history, throughout the ages, but they all didn't make it into this Bible. And what separated her from all these other beautiful women throughout the time? And this is what you should do when you're looking for a wife. You understand? This is what you should look for when you're out there looking for a woman that you're going to call your rib, right? The book of First Peter, chapter 3, and start at verse. Start at verse 3. In chapter 3, verse 1, Salakia. Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives. Like, this is how powerful a woman and a sister can be. That's in the truth. That your husband, he can be in the world and not be someone that's obeying the law, statutes, and commandments, not be a brother that's following the ways of the Lord and a righteous brother, but your wife and her character and her humility and her respect and honor and dignity And the conversation that she's having, the way she's talking to this brother, will make him want to come into the truth. And that has happened before, man. There's been sisters that have come into the school before their husbands, and they want to see what the hell has gotten into her. Why is she acting this way? What is something that about her that's made her change and be like this? And they come into the school. Because the first thought, you know, if your woman is coming around a bunch of men, you know what I mean, in the UPK, your first thought is, man, these cats are going to try to get with my rear. That's natural, you know. But when that is proven to be wrong, and brothers see that that's not what it's about, it's not what we're about, they start to have questions. They want to see, why is she doing this? Why is she doing that? And then they get brought into the school. But it could be the exact opposite as well. If you were a woman that's joining the Christian church, going to church and the pastor is hyping you up every sermon, talking about if you're not equally yoked and you need to leave that man and he is doing this and that, and he's bringing animosity in the household. He's not trying to bring you together. That brother is definitely not going to come into that church or whatever the hell you want to call it. That brother's going to leave that woman. They're going to be in divorce. That's what the Christian church does to families and relationships, right? So that's how you know it's the house of Satan, because a woman that comes into the truth, that comes to follow and learn about this Bible, will change her husband and convict him to come into the truth as well, if she's under the right leadership, which is the men in the ISUPK under Commander Juliana. All right. So let's go again from the top. Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wise. This cuts that other equally yoked precept that they misuse thousands of times in the Christian church. Just because your husband is not in the truth does not mean you should not be in subjection to him. Does not mean you should be in order underneath him and obey him. As long as he's telling you to do something lawful, you have to obey him. That's your husband. That's what we teach in the UPK. That's what they taught in the Bible. That's not what they teach in the Christian church. All right. If any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wise. Verse 2, while they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear, whose adorning let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting the hair and of wearing of gold or of putting on of apparel. Like, don't let their adorning, that thing that makes them beautiful, be your hair, your nails, your makeup, your clothes, your car. Nowadays, your car, a woman drive a nice car and the whole world's supposed to just stop because she got a nice job or a nice house. You think that that's what's valuable in her. Those things are valuable, but that's not where her value should come from, right? Verse 4, but let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of the Most High of great price. These things are what's real value. This is what Susanna had. She had a meek spirit. She had a quiet and a humble spirit. That's what was her true beauty, right? Verse 5, for after this manner in the old time, the holy women also who trusted in the Most High adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands. So now let's go back to Susanna, right? What does it say? The book of, or the history of Susanna, chapter 1, verse 2. And he took a wife whose name was Susanna, the daughter of Chelcias, a very fair woman, and one that feared the Lord. Her parents also were righteous and taught their daughter according to the law of Moses. So that's another thing that we're seeing. the way that she became like this was through her parents. Her mother and father raised her according to the laws of Moses. They bowed her neck early. Let's get that precept real quick. Let's see. Right. Let's go to Ecclesiastes. We're going to hold this and come back to Susanna. Ecclesiastes chapter 30 and verse 12. Right. I might go up a verse or two. The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 30 and verse 12. Matter of fact. Verse 11. Give him no liberty in his youth, and wink not at his follies. Bow down his neck while he is young, and beat him on the sides while he is a child, lest he wax stubborn and be disobedient unto thee, and so bring sorrow to thine heart. Chastise thy son, and hold him to labor, lest his lewd behavior be an offense unto thee. Right? Like, you have to bow a child's neck down when they're young. You have to humble them and get them in order while they're young. It's another thing we see that has been lost in translation here in America, right? Where people will attempt to chastise their children when the children are almost grown. I remember watching a Christian pastor on a TV show, and his daughter is out here in high school dealing with all these different types of boys and doing this and doing that, and the father's getting mad, getting angry. He wanted to argue with her, and I don't know if he was damn near about to put hands on the girl. She's 15, 16 years old at this point. She might have been 17. She might have been more than that, right? It's like, at this point in time, you beating her, you way past the point of putting fear into her for her to understand and respect the things that you are telling her to do. She knows, she already sees the light at the end of the tunnel, that in a few years, she's going to be able to go to college and get out of here, and she's not going to have to listen to you. He was supposed to instill that fear into her at a younger age. So now when she's older, she has such a respect for her father, she's not going to want to go against what he's telling her. You don't have to put your hands on no 17-year-old girl. You do that to that girl when she's 5, 6, 7. Let her know what time it is. You bow her neck at that point. And you explain to her these things before she gets to the point where she's got to learn about boys and young men in high school from her other peers that have horrible advice, right? But that's how it is. It goes for your sons too as well. But these things also deal with the daughter, right? Because let's get another one. Let's get it. We're right here. Let's go to Ecclesiastes 26 and 10. Ecclesiastes chapter 26, verse 10. If thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly. Like, if your daughter is shameless, you're going to have to bring her in straitly, lest she abuse herself through overmuch liberty. Like, if you give a young woman too much freedom, she is going to hurt herself, right? Lest she abuse herself through over much liberty. You got to think how many young women have gone out, done what they wanted to do, slept with whoever they wanted to sleep with, got pregnant, had an abortion, and then are stressed the hell out and in pain and suffering for the rest of their lives. They have a guilty conscience about the things that they've done. Now they got to get high. They got to sleep with more people. They got to overeat or undereat. They got to stay distracted by always going out, being in the club, getting into fights to keep their mind occupied from the pain that she went through by having this abortion. Through so much liberty you letting her do what she wants to do from a young age, now she has hurt herself because of that freedom that you have given, right? See if there's anything else on that. Okay. All right, let's go back to Susanna, right? This is what her parents had done to her. They raised her in righteousness from a young age, and she grew up and held fast to what was taught to her. We're giving you the recipe. The Bible is giving you the recipe on how to raise a family. History of Susanna, chapter 1, verse 4. Now Joachim was a great rich man and had a fair garden joining unto his house. And to him resorted the Jews, because he was more honorable than all others. All right. What does the word resorted mean? To him resorted the Jews. So turn to and to adopt so as to resolve a difficult situation. Go often or in large numbers too. Like the Israelites were always coming to him. He had this garden. He had a nice garden. People was always coming right to him because he was more honorable than all others. This is a solid and righteous brother as well. And he had some bread. You know, he had a beautiful wife, a beautiful house. He was doing his thing, right? But he was righteous in doing so. The same year were appointed two of the ancients of the people to be judges. These two old cats, these two old brothers, right? Such as the Lord spake of, that wickedness came from Babylon, from ancient judges who seemed to govern the people. So these brothers were following in the ways of Babylon. They were not following in the ways of Moses, but they were judges over the people. They had a voice and a sway over judgment among the Israelites, but their manner of judgment was the same that they had learned in ancient Babylon, which was to be corrupt, to be vile, to be disgusting, to be favoritist. What's another word? To take bribes, right? These are the kind of judges that they were, right? Oh, man, let's get that precept. Let's see. Let's go to Micah chapter 3, verse 11. These are how these judges were. These are the things that our people picked up around our oppressor, which is the same thing you see today. You see a black cop beating the hell out of somebody on the side of the streets. It's because they learned it from their oppressor. You see people wanting to be drug dealers. You see these judges doing the same thing, taking bribes, because they learned it from the oppressor, right? Micah chapter 3 and verse 11. Let's see if we go up a little bit. Let's go to verse 9. The book of Micah, chapter 3 and verse 9. Hear this, I pray you, ye heads of the house of Jacob, and princes of the house of Israel, that abhor judgment and pervert all equity. This was not just one problem they were having with these brothers right here. It talks about the sons of Samuel, right? The sons of Samuel. They came along and they were not righteous. And they started to do and take bribes after their father passed on. This was an issue that our people were having, that they were getting into positions of power and abusing their position of power, right? It says once again in the middle of verse 9, that abhor judgment and pervert all equity. Verse 10, they build up Zion with blood and Jerusalem with iniquity. You got to think about these different times, ranging from the time, like I said, of ancient Babylon, that they were getting money and building up their towns with blood, making deals with heathens. That was real big in the times of the Romans. That these priests would come, make deals with the Romans, build up a new town. That they were always trying to build up these cities and name them after heathens, name them after Roman gods, or at least have temples in them dedicated to them. I think King Herod built one of those cities, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see, was it Herodian? Herodium, right? Let's see. Let's go up a little bit. Sulak. Herodium is an ancient fortress located 12 kilometers south of Jerusalem and 5 kilometers southeast of Bethlehem. Is identified with the site of Herodium, built by King of Judea Herod the Great between 23 and 15 BCE. Herodium, let's see. Herodium is the only site that is named after King Herod the Great. It was known by the Crusaders, blah, 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 blah. Like, in these areas, in 40 BCE, after the Parthian conquest of Syria, Herod fled to Masada. On the way, at the location of Herodian, Herod clashed with Jews loyal to his enemy Antigonus and emerged victorious. According to the Roman Jewish historian Josephus, he built a town on that spot in commemoration of his victory and enhanced it with wonderful palaces. And he called it Herodian after himself. Like, these places where they were building these towns, building these cities, they would be known for being Hellenized, right? And it's the same thing they do today. When you have a population that's built on oppressing people at certain points of time where the economy isn't flowing, the ideas goes back to the ancient Greeks and the Romans, even ancient Babylon, that if you start building things, you can use that as a way to employ people and keep them distracted and not realize that the economy where they're living is not prospering or it's not doing well. So nowadays you'll hear that today, like they said, they want to rebuild the infrastructure. Let's go ahead and just build some new bridges. Let's make sure we fix the roads. Let's make sure we do this in this area, build these large buildings to give these poor people a job right now, because there's not enough for us to actively keep these people going in a constructive manner. So that was a tactic they've always used. And so when it says they built these cities with blood, That's what they were doing back then. They were taking blood money, things that were the profit of their oppressors, that came from the oppressors killing their own people and working their people to death. They took this blood money, right? So Micah chapter 3, verse 10, they build up Zion with blood. Like, how are you building up the land of Israel? They building up Zion with blood and Jerusalem with iniquity. The heads thereof judge for reward, and the priests thereof teach for hire. Good night. Not only are the judges judging for money, the priests are teaching for money, and the prophets thereof divine for money. It actually says it right there. And the prophets thereof divine for money. Good night. God damn. They not only teaching the Bible for money, which they do to this day. Creflo Dollar and TD Jakes, that's all it is about money. They're going to teach you the Bible. You're going to pay tithes. You're going to pay double tithes. You're going to pay triple tithes. You're going to put money on the building fund. You're going to buy their book. You're going to buy their food from their bake sale. You're going to give all your money to this church because they are teaching for hire, and they prophets thereof divine for money. They're going to go online and say, you call in, I'll send you a rag. That rag is going to help you have a better future. You call in, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen in the next week, and you're going to get this job. They are prophesying for money, not because the Lord told them to say these things, right? Thereof divine for money. Yet will they lean upon the Lord? Yet, that's a pause right there. Yet will they lean upon the Lord and say, is not the Lord among us? None evil can come upon us. Are they going to think that the Lord is protecting them and all the evil that they're going to do? They're going to lean on the Lord and ask him for help out of all these things you've done? Verse 12, therefore shall Zion for your sake be plowed as a field, and Jerusalem shall become heaps, and the mountain of the house as the high places of the forest. This place is going to have to be destroyed because these men are doing all this wickedness in the Holy Land, and they're going to have to get eradicated out of there. All right. Well, let's go back. I know I keep bouncing around, but, I want to pull some precepts to get some context of what's going on with the sister Susanna. All right. Go to verse 5, chapter 1, verse 5 in the history of Susanna. The same year were appointed 2 of the ancients of the people to be judges, such as the Lord spake of, that wickedness came from Babylon, from ancient judges who seemed to govern the people. They seemed to govern the people. They weren't really governing the people. Verse 6, these kept much at Joachim's house, and all that had any suits in law came unto them. So they spent a lot of time at Joachim's house. Everybody knows his brother. He's a righteous brother. They going over there. You know what that sounds like? That sounds like the brother that likes to grill, man, and entertain people. You all know that one house, man, where he's about to put something on the grill. He like, pull up. Let's eat. Let's drink. Let's chop it up. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about that. Just a good place for brothers to meet up. And then it also says that all that had any suits in law came unto them. Like if they had any dispute, any lawsuit to bring charges up against someone, they will come to these men. Verse 7. Now, when the people departed away at noon, Susanna went into her husband's garden to walk, and the 2 elders saw her going in every day and walking, so that their lust was inflamed toward her. They see this sister, she's beautiful. They're lusting after her. It really grew in them. And it's kind of weird how both of them is getting the same feeling and urge at the same time. It sounds like these brothers were wicked in a lot of different ways, and in a Sodom and Gomorrah type way, how these brothers is moving around. How the hell both of y'all gonna get this such a strong lust for the same goddamn woman? You understand? So that their lust was inflamed toward her, and they perverted their own mind. They perverted their own mind. Let's see what this means too. I'm gonna get that word. Sometimes I like random words that you like looking up random words that you might feel like you know. Let's just double check. What does the word inflamed mean? Of strong feelings, provoked or intensified. You know, these cats had a strong and intense feeling against this sister right here, right? Verse 9, and they perverted their own mind and turned away their eyes, that they might not look unto heaven, nor remember just judgments. So they were actively trying to not follow the Lord. They lusted after this woman. They not doing righteous judgments. They taking bribes. They doing all manner of things that are evil in the sight of the Lord. Verse 10, and albeit they both were wounded with her love, yet durst not one show another his grief. So at the same time, I guess they're not sharing it with each other and showing, hey, this is what's stressing me out. This woman's so bad, I gotta have her. They thinking evil thoughts. Like they not trying to date her, nothing. They know she's married. It shouldn't be. That's why Christ said, he that lusteth after a woman committed adultery in his heart, right? Paraphrasing. Because they are looking at her so strongly that it led them to do a grave sin. Right. Verse 11. For they were ashamed to declare their lust, that they desired to have to do with her. Verse 12. Yet they watched diligently from day to day to see her. Good night. These cats in the bushes, they fighting diligently to get out of their way to stalk her, or what's that called? Be some peeping toms, it sounds like. Right? Verse 13. And the one said to the other, let us now go home, for it is dinner time. So when they were gone out, they parted the one from the other. And turning back again, they came to the same place. And after that, they had asked one another the cause. They acknowledged their lust. Then appointed they a time both together when they might find her alone. Good night. This don't sound like the Christian church. It's like it. All right. Slop. Right. So at the end of verse 14, then appointed they a time both together when they might find her alone. Verse 15, and it fell out as they watched a fit time. She went in as before with two maids only, and she was desirous to wash herself in the garden, for it was hot. And there was nobody there save the two elders that had hid themselves and watched her. They are in there being some absolute creeps in the bushes watching this sister while she's coming out to bathe herself or wash herself, on a hot day, either just wanting to get in some water. We don't know if she was fully clothed. She might have been dipping her feet in the water. She could be washing her feet. She could be washing her arms. She could be washing her face. Who knows exactly how she was washing herself, but these cats came out, right? And there was nobody there save the two elders that had hid themselves and watched her. Verse 17. Then she said to her maids, bring me oil and washing balls, and shut the garden doors that I may wash me. So, yeah, she sounds like she was having a real bath. You understand? She was getting cleaned up. This is out in ancient days. It wasn't no whole bunch of neighbors looking over the fence. You got some space. You got some guard. You got to think about being in the country type style, man. There's nobody back there. She's nobody outside. She's by herself. The maids are inside. They close the door. She's out here handling her business, man. All right. And they did as she bade them, and shut the garden doors, and went out themselves at privy doors to fetch the things that she had commanded them. But they saw not the elders, because they were hid. Now when the maids were gone forth, the two elders rose up and ran unto her, saying, behold, the garden doors are shut, that no man can see us, and we are in love with thee. Therefore consent unto us, and lie with us. These old freaky bastards. These are some real freaky ass niggas, man. You understand what they talking about? They not like us. These were some freaky ass niggas, some old 69 gods, whatever, man. They getting down. They on some freak time, man. A bunch of old, perverted, nasty, disgusting bastards, man. Which also shows you, where did they learn this from? In the ways of the Babylonians. These things were not unlawful in ancient Babylon. I know you could go and take someone's woman in ancient Babylon. Why? Because they're heathens. They're not men of the Lord. The children of Israel is partaking in this behavior today because of the things we learned in our slavery and captivities back then. Why do you think it's so glorious in black culture, of all cultures, for men to rap about taking somebody else's woman? That's where this whole, all the Drake, going back on that, Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef and Rick Ross and all that, is always some sister in the middle, brother saying they slept with this sister, causing a beef, causing a war, causing problems, man. Nicki Minaj and Drake and Meek Mill. What do you think? Who do you think was the common denominator, man? Nicki's right there in the middle. How many countless beasts? Tupac and Biggie. Faith Evans right there in the middle. You understand? You can go on and on and on and on and on and on and on of how many wars and battles have happened over women, right? Let's see. But these freaky ass cats is trying to basically, I don't know, man, run a train on a tag team or whatever. But that's what they're trying to do, man. Therefore, consent unto us and lie with us. If thou wilt not, we will bear witness against thee that a young man was with thee, and therefore thou didst send away thy maids from thee. So they saying we got to give up the draws like they do in the Christian church. If you don't do this, then we're going to say this lie right here. Sister so-and-so, we're going to tell everybody you cheating on your husband. Or you can get with me, Pastor Poke Chop, meet me at this hotel, this motel, this Holiday Inn, get with me, and I won't tell your husband, because who are they going to believe? You or the pastor? They're going to believe you or Creflo Dollar. You don't think Creflo Dollar can do that? I'm going to tell your husband you got a boyfriend. I got enough money. I'm going to pay some cat to come out and say, yeah, I was knocking boots. I was tying fire to your wife. Now, who they going to believe? Creflo Dollar, the man of the Lord, or you? They're going to believe me. This is the same game they tried to pull on this sister, right? If thou wilt not, we will bear witness against thee that a young man was with thee, and therefore thou didst send away thy maids from thee. Verse 22. Then Susanna sighed and said, I am straitened on every side, For if I do this thing, it is death unto me. And if I do it not, I cannot escape your hands. It is better for me to fall into your hands and not do it than to sin in the sight of the Lord. So she's saying, for one, I can obey what you're saying and go ahead and sleep with you and not worry about losing my husband, not worry about losing his house, not worrying about losing my life because I'm going to get stoned to death for having an adulterous affair. Right? So she's like, you know what? I'm more scared of what the Lord is going to do to me if I do this evil act with you. I'm more fearful of what's going to happen with him than fearful of what's going to happen with you. So I'd rather fall into your hands. Let whatever the hell you trying to do, she pulled their card. You want to do it then? Pull the trigger then. You know what I mean? And so verse 23, it is better. Let's see, verse 24. With that, Susanna cried with a loud voice, and the two elders cried out against her. Then ran the one and opened the garden door. So she popped it off. She like, hey! She started screaming, crying out, help, help, help. She know what they're going to say, but she cried out. That's why it also says, you know, for a sister that's in a situation, man, she's got to cry out. You got to raise your daughters to cry out. Don't be a coward. If somebody's doing something, you got to cry out, man. You can't let somebody hold a gun to you, say, I'm going to kill you, and all this and that and the third, and put you in fear that you ain't going to live to see tomorrow. Man, it's better to cry out, and if that's what they're going to do, let them do that. But you don't let nobody take advantage of you. You don't let nobody defile your body because of your fear, man. That is not what you're supposed to do. And that's in the Bible. We go to Deuteronomy 22, right? Because nowadays they want everybody to have no morals and just be willing to break and bend on anything, even to the point of letting someone defile you, right? The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 22, and verse 27. Oh, let me see. Where does it say? Okay. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 22, and verse 23. If a damsel that is a virgin be betrothed unto a husband, and a man find her in the city and lie with her, then ye shall bring them both unto the gate of the city, and you shall stone them with the stones that they die. The damsel because she cried not, being in the city, and the man because he hath humbled his neighbor's wife. So thou shalt put away evil from among you. Like, if she comes out and she's supposed to be married and she allows his man to humble her, she doesn't do anything about it, she's going to get put to death too. Right? Verse 25, but if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her and lie with her, then the man only that lay with her shall die. Right? But unto the damsel thou shalt do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death. For as when a man rises against his neighbor and slayeth him, even so is this matter. For he found her in the field, and the betrothed damsel cried, and there was none to save her. Right? Like, she still cried out, but she's in the field, she's in the wilderness. No, she cried out, nobody can hear her. But this man came and raped her, he got to be put to death. But if she's going out and allowing a man to abuse her, or actually getting with him, because that's what the only next option. If you let this man do this to you, who's to say you didn't just lay with this brother at all, and you just commit adultery on your husband, right? Let's go back to this. So, okay. Mm. The book of history of Susanna, chapter 1, verse 24. With that, Susanna cried with a loud voice, and the two elders cried out against her. It's like, damn, they're like, man, we about to get some box. Then she called a bluff and start going straight into it. Shalom, Yabashim Yoshai Brakatha to the young man, you understand? From San Jose. Most High in Christ, good to see you in here. Huh? If you got any questions, go ahead, type them in the chat. Baba Kashab. If you have any questions online, feel free, go ahead, type them in the chat. All right. And then, so she cried loud. Verse 25. Then ran the one and opened the garden door. So when the servants of the house heard the cry in the garden, they rushed in at a private door to see what was done unto her. But when the elders had declared their matter, the servants were greatly ashamed, for there was never such a report made of Susanna. Like the servants is like, damn, what's going on? They kind of stressed out. They kind of saddened that this happened. They like, man, we looked up to Susanna. These servants looked up to her. They saw righteousness in her. And it's like they exposing her. And like they bubble got popped. Like, damn, this is how she really is, right? They did not see it coming. Verse 28. And it came to pass the next day when the people were assembled to her husband, Joachim, the two elders came also of mischievous imagination against Susanna to put her to death, and said before the people, send for Susanna, the daughter of Chalchias, Joachim's wife. And so they sent. So she came with her father and mother, her children, and all her kindred. Now Susanna was a very delicate woman, and a beauteous to behold. Like she wasn't no big, brolic, what they say, big, bad, built back, butch body, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. That wasn't, she was a delicate sister, man. Delicate sister. She moved graceful in essence, you know what I mean? And beauteous to behold. And these wicked men commanded to uncover her face, for she was covered, that they might be filled with her beauty. Damn. The sister was so bad. See that? Man, get that sister a hand, man. Like the sister got her face covered because she knows these brothers or these people might be so in awe of her beauty that it's gonna sway them and make them lose focus. But nowadays, you say some woman is wearing something that's distracting you, they saying something is completely wrong with you. Yeah, should you be able to maintain your discipline and all that? They say you're sexualizing. That's the new thing. This girl's wearing these clothes. She's half naked. They say you sexualizing her by looking at her breasts or looking at her rear end, her tail, and you are sexualizing her. But the outfit is sexualized. Like these body parts are used to arouse men for sex. If you are in the bedroom and a woman is getting naked and you don't get aroused, they're gonna be like, what's wrong with you? You need to have some Viagra. You need to have something, bro. You need to take some honey or whatever those things are, the liquor store, whatever you need. You need to get some of that because something is wrong with you. But now, if a woman comes into the room and she is wearing a thong, literally this woman is going to the club wearing a thong, you're sexualizing her? How? She's wearing something that is sexual in nature by showing her body, because her body is something that is used for sexual arousal. That's how sex works. You understand? Like it's crazy. But they use that as an excuse to wear whatever the hell they want to. This sister had respect for the men around her so much. She knew how beautiful she was. She said, I'm going to cover myself up so I don't get these people caught up into my looks right now. Therefore, her friends and all that saw her wept. Then the two elders stood up in the midst of the people and laid their hands upon her head. And she, weeping, looked up toward heaven, for her heart trusted in the Lord. And the elder said, as we walked in the garden alone, this woman came in with two maids and shut the garden doors and sent the maids away. Then a young man who was who there was hid, came unto her and lay with her. Then we that stood in a corner of the garden, seeing this wickedness, ran unto them. And when we saw them together, the man we could not hold, for he was stronger than we, and opened the door and leaped out. So they got the whole profile. They got their lie all the way down packed. They said this young cat, they older men, they ancient men. They said this young cat was too strong, pushed us out the way, and kept it going. And when, verse 39, and when we saw them together, the man, so verse 40. But having taken his woman, we asked who the young man was, but she would not tell us. These things do we testify. Then the assembly believed them as those that were the elders and judges of the people, so they condemned her to death. Good night. This lie they're telling on her was a death sentence, which makes you think, how many times have these judges done something like this before? This ain't your first rodeo. You don't just come out getting somebody killed on your first go round. That's the end of the movie. You know what I mean? Like when you watch a movie about a bad guy, you think about the TV show Breaking Bad. Walter White. Walter White started off as a chemistry teacher in a high school, squared in a box of Apple Jacks. You know what I mean? Squared in four corners, man. He all of a sudden grew into becoming a drug dealer. Then he grew into someone that became violent and was using guns and killing people and doing all manner of things. He became a monster over time, but the first day he wasn't like that. That's how these priests, man, and now after, what's his name, Walter White then caught a body later on, you see who he's become. Now he want to go kill more people. He want to do more things. These cats, they first time doing something foul like this, it's not the first time you get a body out of it. You don't go straight to murder, man. They had gone through so many briberies and all types of unlawful things until get to this point, man, where it was not even a thought to them that they would lie on this sister to get her killed. They put a hit out on her. It's the same way you call the police on a black man in America and he resulted in dying. You were the one that put a hit out on him. Because you know the outcomes of these type of things, right? All right. Okay. Verse 42. Then Susanna cried out with a loud voice and said, O everlasting God, that knowest the secrets and knowest all things before they be. Thou knowest that they have borne false witness against me, and behold, I must die. Whereas I never did such things as these men have maliciously invented against me. And the Lord heard her voice. Therefore, when she was led to be put to death, the Lord raised up the Holy Spirit of a young youth whose name was Daniel, who cried with a loud voice, I am clear from the blood of this woman. Then all the people turned them toward him and said, What mean these words that thou hast spoken? So he, standing in the midst of them, said, Are ye such fools, ye sons of Israel, that without examination or knowledge of the truth, ye have condemned a daughter of Israel? They didn't even go in and investigate. They took these priests' word for face value. They trusted in them, or these judges, so much they believe whatever they would say. All right. Verse 48. So he, standing in the midst of them, said, Are ye such fools, ye sons of Israel, that without examination or knowledge of the truth, ye have condemned a daughter of Israel? Verse 49. Return again to the place of judgment, for they have borne false witness against her. Wherefore all the people turned again in haste, and the elders said unto him. So he said, man, let's go back to the scene of the crime, because these men have condemned an innocent sister. That's the Spirit of the Lord came on Daniel to see these things, right? Verse 50. Wherefore all the people turned again in haste, and the elders said unto him, Come, sit down among us, and show it us, seeing God hath given thee the honor of an elder. Sloppy. Then said Daniel unto them, Put these two aside, one far from another, and I will examine them. So when they were put asunder, one from another, he called one of them and said unto him, O thou that art waxen old in wickedness, now thy sins which thou hast committed aforetime are come to light. Like all the things that he's done before this are come to light. You see somebody wanting to do this, now we can really see who you are, man. And you know what? We know what's similar like that today? When a police officer gets caught up doing evil. When a district attorney gets caught up doing evil, they go back and look at all their cases and see there was corruption throughout the whole thing every goddamn time. It wasn't their first rodeo. This is just the first time they got caught. We got to go back. You over here beating up people, shooting people on camera, shooting them in the back. You got to go back and look at all their different cases, man. They over here bribing or setting up people, putting out false evidence on them. You got to go look at every goddamn case they had in the past 20 years. Because it's somebody most likely sitting in jail right now for no goddamn reason other than everyone in the world believed officer so-and-so because they were a police officer, right? Let's see. Verse 53, for thou hast pronounced false judgment and hast condemned the innocent and hast let the guilty go free. Albeit the Lord said, the innocent and righteous shalt thou not slay. Now then, if thou hast seen her, tell me, under what tree sawest thou them company together? Who answered, under a mastic tree. So he separated them. One person said she was under a mastic tree. And Daniel said, very well, thou hast lied against thine own head. For even now the angel of the Most High hath received the sentence of the Most High to cut thee in two. So he put him aside and commanded to bring the other, and said unto him, O thou seed of Canaan, and not of Judah, beauty hath deceived thee, and lust hath perverted thine heart. Like, damn, these are the seed of Canaan. You're the seed of these Canaanites, these Babylonians, all these heathens. You are the seed of them. You're acting like them. You know what I mean? You're not acting like our people. Verse 57, thus have ye dealt with the daughters of Israel, and they for fear company with you, but the daughter of Judah would not abide your wickedness, right? This sister would not go with what they were saying. Now therefore tell me, under what tree didst thou take them company together? Who answered, under a home tree. Then said Daniel unto him, well, thou hast also lied against thine own head. For the angel of the Most High waiteth with the sword to cut thee in two, and he may destroy you. With that, all the assembly cried out with a loud voice and praised the Most High, who saveth them that trust in him. And they arose against the two elders, for Daniel had convicted them of false witness by their own mouth. And according to the law of Moses, they did unto them in such sort as they maliciously intended to do to their neighbor. So they were about to kill this sister. They end up killing these cats. And they put them to death. Thus, the innocent blood was saved the same day. Therefore, Chelkias and his wife praised the Most High for their daughter Susanna, with Joachim her husband, and all the kindred, because there was no dishonesty found in her. From that day forth was Daniel had in great reputation in the sight of the people. So this is one of the defining moments in Daniel becoming one of the prominent priests and prophets in the Bible, right? And so one reason why I'm also bringing this out today, because we all know this is the 4th of July. You know what I'm saying? The 4th of July's. You know, that's what this is the 4th of July's. That's what it is, man. You going out and following these Julys, you're obeying your master today, telling you this is the day to celebrate, knowing your grandfather was working on the field in this same date in the 1700s, man. America was free in 1776 and 1775. Your grandfather was on a plantation. In 1776, your grandfather was on a plantation. Why? Because we didn't get free until almost 100 years later, 90 some odd years later, right? And that's a free quotations too. We still are not free. But long story short, man, this is how Daniel became a prominent man, because he had discernment. He had the spirit of the Most High on him, and allow him to see through the BS these cats was doing. And I'm saying this is being brought out today because this is the day that our people, especially our women, need to have morals regardless of the consequences. Morals regardless of, you losing your job. Morals regardless of your family being mad at you. Morals regardless of it being a holiday where everybody's going to go barbecue and have fun. You don't need to go to that today. You don't need to celebrate that today with these heathens. Go home, be with your family, be with those that are in the truth, and leave it at that, man. Because if you can't have the courage that Susanna had, she was about that life, as they like to say. She was ready to die in order to remain righteous. We got to have that same zeal, man. And they say the Bible says the woman is the weaker vessel. There is absolutely zero excuse for a woman, the weaker vessel, being ready to die for what's right, and you being a grown-ass man supposed to be following the Lord and not being ready to give up weed for the Most High, man. You can't even give up smoking weed. She's ready to die for the Lord. You can't give up watching pornography, but she's ready to die for the Lord. You can't give up eating pork and shrimp to follow the Most High, but this woman was willing to give up her life when she was absolutely in the right. But she trusted in the Lord so much, and the Lord honored her trust and delivered her out of the hands, out of the snares of these evil bastards, man. So that's what we got to do, is have faith and hold steadfast until the very end. So with that, I'm going to salute the class. Say shalom, Yahweh Shem Yoshai, Thumb to all the brothers. Yahweh Shamar, Thumb Shem Yoshai to all the sisters. Class dismissed.